Welcome to day one of Brand New Movie Talk. We are covering the Avengers Endgame box office, and then on top of that, brand new trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home. We are digging into the details right here on the show. I am so happy to be kicking off this fresh iteration of Movie Talk. We have a great lineup for you today, and I get to discuss all of these topics with two wonderful people on day one, John Rocha and Nikki Novak. I'm so happy to be celebrating day one with you two.
So excited to be asked here on day one. Thank you.
Let's do this thing.
Yes.
New talk, new rules.
That is what I like to hear.
Yeah.
And we have an audience. Thank you, everybody, for being in the... Yeah!
Get back to work.
All right, here we go. We're digging into that box office right now. In particular, we're focusing on Avengers Endgame, which is now the second largest worldwide earner of all time. And that all happened after just 12 days of global release, which is nuts. It did come up a little bit shy of the second weekend record at the domestic box office that Star Wars The Force Awakens posted. That one had made $149.2 million. And when you look at the actuals that came in just a little while ago, actually, Avengers Endgame wound up closing out weekend two with $147.4 million. But globally, Endgame wound up with a total of $2.188 billion, which tops Titanic's $2.187 billion. And now it's got the movie trailing Avatar by something like $620 million. Absolutely crazy how much this is made in such a short period of time. But we can't forget the fact that Avatar came out. It was a different time, different landscape. Also had the luxury of not being a summer release, so it had the opportunity to have legs, whereas there is so much competition coming Endgame's way right now. So what say you on the big debate? Is Endgame going to top Avatar, or is it going to start to see a steeper decline now?
I think it's not going to top Avatar, unfortunately. I think because of so many of these movies that are coming now, the summer season, right? They had, like you said, Avatar had a little bit of time. Star Wars Force Awakens had even more time coming out over Christmas. Now, when you're looking at this situation with summer, so many movies that are anticipated by many people coming out this summer, one right on top of each other, all with colons for some reason. So this is going to be, this is good.
That sounded wrong. Incredible.
Just saying. I noticed there's a lot of colons coming out this summer. So there's a lot of movies falling on top of each other that are going to dig away at the audience that will go. And plus, it went $200 million less than its opening weekend. That tells you that everyone who wanted to see it went out and saw it. And I think the idea of spoilers and everything like that went down, people rushed out to see this enormous amount of people went out to see this thing quickly. And I think it's not going to match those numbers as the weekends go along.
I think you're crazy.
Okay.
I think it's not if, it's when, and it's how soon it's going to happen.
Okay.
I mean, 2 weeks in, we're at $2 billion. This is insanity. You're telling me it can't make up the difference in the next few weeks? I know we have a lot of movies this summer. It's super stacked, but there's still a little bit of time before that happens. And I think you're going to get the repeat viewings. And when you're looking at that Star Wars Force Awakens number domestically, think about Star Wars didn't open quite as wide. So there were people that couldn't see it the first weekend. Remember, everybody was like, it's sold out, I can't go. So they maybe went the second weekend. I don't think that's any indication of this slowing down.
And it's also, we have to consider the fact that Avengers Endgame played in more theaters than ever. Because think about some smaller stories we were talking about just in the grand scheme of things, where they were saying AMC theaters stayed open for 72 hours straight. It had more opportunities to be screened, and it's not all that much of a surprise that it had more opportunity to actually lose money. And 58.7% for its weekend two drop, when you think about how much it made weekend one, that is wildly impressive. And I could not be happier for this movie. The question is now, when are we going to start to see that drop off? Actually, I didn't even give my prediction. I'm with you, Nikki. I think this is undoubtedly going to top Avatar. I feel like with it shooting up as high as it did this fast, I really don't see any other scenario playing out here, because it's also one of those movies that is so highly rewatchable, and also everybody I spoke to basically said, I walked out of my first viewing dying to see it again, dying to see it for a third time. And as someone who's seen it 3 times, it never kind of like loses any of the effects of the magic as I go along. I just wind up getting more out of it.
It felt more like an event movie, though. You had to go see this thing. You had to, so you could talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I think the 60% drop is notable. That to me is going to only increase week to week as this goes along. I don't think it's going to pick up steam. I don't think it's going to get maybe around Spider-Man Far From Home. If it still still in the theaters. If it's still in the theaters, it will be making the money that it's making. I think people went to see it, saw it numerous times. They're good to go, and they're going to wait now till it comes out on video so they can analyze it on Netflix and stream it and watch it. But you got Pikachu coming. You got John Wick 3 coming within the same month. You've got Aladdin coming. I know people make fun of it, but there's a lot of families that are going to go see Aladdin. So there's a lot of films that are coming down the pike that will take young audiences away from, because it ain't 50-year-olds by the most part going to see this thing 5 or 6 times. It's more of the younger audience who has the time to go and see this thing multiple
disagree.
times.
I think it's just about everyone now. Maybe not my Nana,
Who
but
has
I think
time to go see
I
this 3
think
times?
age ranges like across the board. There's this.
I think initially, yes, but not now as the weeks go along. I don't
but
think.
I also
You
think there
can't
were a
make
lot
that
of
kind of
people-
money that way.
Yeah, and a lot of people went the first weekend. Maybe they
Right.
took a week off. They're not going to go the second weekend, but in the weeks to come, I know so many people that are like, I'm going to go see it again. It's just a matter of like when. Is it going to be this week, next week? I don't think it's going to trail off. The amount of money it's made in the first 2 weeks, there's no way it's going to trail off that much that's not going to hit that number.
Yeah, and when you look at some of the movies that are coming out, we obviously do have a bunch that are going to make a pretty penny at the box office. The soonest one that we're going to get is Detective Pikachu, and
Right.
I am curious to see what the drop winds up being with something a little more substantial hitting theaters than what we had this weekend. But even looking at this upcoming lineup, it's not like we have over the next month. I mean, actually, I'll go as far to say as for the rest of May, I don't see a single movie on this list that's going to top $100 million opening weekend.
I agree.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
in that case, I have a feeling it might be semi-smooth sailing for Endgame throughout the month, at least until we get to something like, I don't know, Toy Story.
Do you think it'll stay number 1?
Through
the month of May.
Against Detective P. Oh my God, no.
Okay, yeah, right.
I
So
don't
you
mean,
think it will
I
drop,
don't mean that
but you think it
substantial.
will
Of
keep
course.
making the
I mean,
money.
it's
Okay.
inevitable. It's going to drop no matter what. It's just about how much. It's about how long those legs are. And then the
Right.
question becomes, I don't think the question is, will it be in theaters come July 2nd when
Okay.
Spider-Man Far From Home comes out? I think the bigger question is, how much of a bump is Endgame going to get
Give it.
then,
Yeah.
especially given that trailer that they dropped
Right.
today?
Yeah, that
So
trailer was incredible.
I think the MCU is in pretty good shape right now. Did anything else other than Endgame catch your eye at the box office, or was everything else completely overshadowed?
Yeah, I would throw Long Shot in the mix. Maybe we're done with the schlubby guy trying to get the Pretty Girl movie done. It only made $10 million. How about we done with that? I know everybody liked it or got good reviews, but like, to me, it was such a dumb premise. I think a lot of people didn't go see it for that reason. I'm not sure if Charlize and Seth is the combo that can get people into the theaters. Clearly, only $10 million open, and it's going to sink from there. So that's maybe we're done with that.
I
once
don't
and
know
for
if
all.
it's the storyline necessarily, though.
I mean, the intruder should not be beating you.
Well, when you think about
Dennis
it, you think
Quaid.
about why people are going to go to the movies, why they're going to pay a ticket. A romantic comedy is not going to have the same draw as The Intruder in terms of people want to go, they want to get freaked out, they want to have that, like, you know, people love going to the movies for like horror and that kind of thing, and for Avengers and action. They don't necessarily go anywhere for romantic comedies. They may hear, oh yeah, it's good, but they're not going to be like, oh, they're going to wait for it. They're going to wait to rent it at home.
I actually think that how The Intruder, Long Shot, and Ugly Dolls did this weekend is actually a sure sign of the type of viewership that
Right.
Endgame is getting right now, because you're talking about 3 completely different movies, one that appeals to the youngest of moviegoers out there, and we're seeing them all not perform that well, and I have a feeling it's because Endgame is making such a significant dent at the box office right now.
We'll see with Pikachu coming up, where if that still holds true.
Yep. I'm curious to see
Yeah.
if you have not caught it yet. Our Detective Pikachu non-spoiler review is up on the channel right now. All right, let's roll into some very brief plugs. First up, little comic book shopping coming at you.
I'm Coy Jandro here at Golden Apple Comics on Melrose Ave here in sunny Hollywood, California, and I'm here with Trevor Steins, who is Jason Blossom on Riverdale.
And I rewatched it 1,000 times, being just a dream come true. The more I got to play Jason, the more I felt like Jason.
More importantly, he is a giant sweaty. You excited to do some comic book shopping?
I am super excited, yeah.
Books, comic.
Be sure to check out that new episode of Comic Book Shopping very soon. And then on top of that, you've got a brand new episode of Collider Witching Hour coming your way. We welcomed Darina to the show, and we did a spoiler review for Suspiria. Things got witchy, creepy, violently dancey. I don't know how you would describe that movie. I still can't shake it off, but right now we need to roll into our next story here. And it's another big one for the MCU. Early this morning, we got a brand new trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, and there's a reason they dropped this trailer after 2 weekends in theater for Endgame. It's because this thing is basically loaded with Endgame spoilers, one of which is Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio claiming that he's from a different version of Earth, which is kind of confirming the events of Endgame did create a multiverse, or is it? But before we even get there, we want to dig into a bunch of questions that this trailer poses, and one of the ones on my mind right now is this idea of Spider-Man becoming the new Iron Man, so to speak. Do you think he is going to basically fill the role that Tony Stark left behind, or are they teasing something and kind of putting our minds down one track and they're actually going to make it something different for Peter Parker?
I don't know if they would do that to him and to the actor and the character. I don't know if they would tease that and be like, oh, psych, it's actually going to be somebody else. It's a bit of a disrespect to the character, I think. It's a smart way to go. He's super young. If you're thinking about like the next 10 years of the Marvel Universe, who better to kick it off than Tom Holland? He's one of my favorite actors. He's such a fresh, he brings such a different vibe than everybody else brings. And I think we all sort of went, when we saw the trailer, and went, really? Is that the direction you're going? But
okay, I have a question for you, though, because I know where you're going. We've gone back and forth on this. When I think about the future Avengers, the new Avengers, so to speak, and who is going to fill that Iron Man role, I always kind of excluded Peter because he's a bit on the younger side. And I guess I envisioned an older Avenger, taking the lead of the group. Does that concern you at all? Or do you think he fits that role regardless?
I think he's the unconventional choice, but that's kind of what they do. That's what they do in the MCU is they surprise you. I mean, we might have thought, is it going to be Thor? Who's it going to be? It could be Doctor Strange, somebody with the gravitas. But now, and Thor's become such a beloved character. Why are you doing that to me?
I'm not saying
But no, can't turn your back on this one.
I can hear the word gravitas anywhere on this planet without thinking of John Rocha.
Fair enough.
But here's the thing, this trailer sort of shows me that while he might be the new Iron Man, Happy is the new Tony Stark. It's like he's sort of become like the mentor in a sense.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think what they did really brilliantly here is the MCU's never shown us the Uncle Ben moment that is the standard thing for Peter Parker. To have it be Tony Stark being Uncle Ben is brilliant here. And you guys know who've watched Collider Movie Talk religiously, I have said this on numerous shows. I think Spider-Man is going to lead the new Avengers. That's why Tony was his mentor. And this trailer just reaffirmed that for me even more so. Yes, he's young yet, but you can see Tom Holland is growing into the role. He feels more confident in this trailer, and it's 5 years later, so he can get away with all of that stepping in here. Happy Hogan, I think, more slides into this whole assistant spot that Peter is going to need. Because remember, Peter puts on the glasses, which has the nanotech, the Stark stuff. So there's a lot of connections here, which I think is brilliant from this trailer, that he is going to take his Iron Man's mantle and possibly lead the Avengers.
So let's say Spider-Man is the new Iron Man. Who do you guys see them filling out the rest of the group with? Because I think what this trailer was also teasing is that we can almost take Thor and Captain Marvel out of that equation.
Right.
I mean, maybe they'll pop in now and then depending on what the threat is on Earth, but I do have a feeling that going forward, it's going to be Thor out in the cosmic realm with the Guardians, and then Captain Marvel kind of doing her own thing. So who do you think is going to be surrounding Spider-Man when, maybe the next Avengers movie comes out?
Who's left?
Well, Valkyrie is there on New Asgard. She's running New Asgard. Valkyrie can certainly chime in here. War Machine's out there. The new Captain America is out there. Bucky is out there. Scarlet Witch is out there still.
You can't just
Doctor
name
Strange.
everybody. You have to
I'm
come
just
out
saying,
to a
those are my
group.
six. Those are my six right there.
That's too many.
What, six
Yeah.
Avengers?
Yeah, that's way too many.
Didn't they have six to begin with?
Yeah, but you can't have that many. You got to choose three, Rocha.
Three?
Yeah.
What about Hulk? What's Hulk up to? Is he retiring?
Hulk, Professor's off creating some things. I don't know what he's doing. He might be more of an advisor on the side, that kind of
Really?
thing. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be the central focus. I think they're, and I wonder if the Amy Pascal thing will play into this. Amy moving over to Universal may help them do a Hulk standalone movie with Mark Ruffalo, kind of pulling him away from the Avengers.
So you're basically saying, because a lot of the people you're naming, it's not the core. So
The core's gone.
But you think you don't think that the Hulk or somebody, you need to have sort of like
No.
three major, of the core group.
I do not. I think the core is done. Purposely done. Captain America's done. Iron Man's done. Black Widow is dead. Hawkeye is no longer around. Thor's off with the Asgardians of the Galaxy, and Hulk is figuring out something in his own world. So to me, that's why I think the core is finished, and they're going to create a whole new core with Spider-Man at the head of it.
I can't even begin to answer this question. It's like, I had one picture in my mind and I had a really great explanation for it. And then I hear other people's thoughts and I'm like, well, I don't know which way to look right now. I'm just going to wait and see what happens. The next question.
I want to know now I want to know.
Well, basically everything I said in most of our Endgame prediction videos was flat out wrong. I do
But
think
that's the fun of it.
I do think that Spider-Man is going to be a part of it. I don't see them traditionally filling the voids left by, let's say, Iron Man and Captain America. Like, I know that Sam has assumed the Captain America mantle, but I don't think he's going to function the same way within the group that Steve Rogers just did.
Right.
Same thing with Tony Stark and Peter Parker. I don't think he's exactly filling their shoes. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see, a singular or a pair of leaders emerge. I think it's going to be kind of like a group of equality, and it's basically going to be Spider-Man, Black Panther. I think Doctor Strange is going to be heavily involved. Valkyrie's a little bit of a toss-up for me because I do wonder if New Asgard will just remain on Earth and flourish there, or if they're eventually going to try to go out into the cosmic realm again. I don't really know what to make of Scarlet Witch at this point, just because she's going to be off doing her Disney Plus show, and the whole thing about it taking place in the 1950s is throwing me for a loop, because does that mean she's going to essentially time travel and she won't be in play anymore? There's so many possibilities. Throw in Ant-Man and the Wasp too.
Yeah,
They're in the mix also.
Certainly in the mix. Absolutely.
All right. Next question I have for you guys is another one that kind of paves the way to the future of the MCU, or at least could. If you guys noticed in the trailer, there's one shot of Spider-Man web-slinging through New York City, and we pass what used to be Avengers Tower, and it's under construction, which means they're likely building something new with it. So my mind immediately goes to Baxter Tower or maybe an Oscorp building. So what say you about that? Do you think that they're going to introduce something that we haven't seen before in the MCU there?
I say yes. I think absolutely Fantastic Four Baxter Building makes a lot of sense to me, that it could be that. Whilst they're figuring this whole thing out down the road, there's no need to rush. This all started in Spider-Man Far From Home. They're moving away out of the Avengers Tower, so now we're 100% out of it. We'll see what happens now with Stark. Who is he going to sell it to? Who's Gwyneth Paltrow? Who's Pepper Potts going to sell it to? We'll see. And the multiverse thing may be how we get Fantastic Four, how we get X-Men. Who knows? Because this idea that, what's-his-face is sliding in here, Mysterio is saying that he's from the multiverse, and Nick Fury believes him, Colby Smulders believes him. Is this, or Maria Hill rather, is this the truth? We'll see. But either way, that opens the door for someone taking over that tower, and it seems like that would be the way to go for now.
You don't include that shot in this trailer without purpose.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I have a feeling it's something. And if I had to place a bet on something right now, I would lean towards Oscorp, because I do think the multiverse thing is going to be the way to introduce mutants.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand on that right now.
It's sort of the same as the last question. I have no idea where they're going. It's going to be a surprise. I don't know.
I like these surprises.
Yeah.
I'll take whatever they give me. But the big question we have to hit right now is what you brought up, Rocha. Is Mysterio even telling the truth? We're talking about a character with a history of being a con man. He could easily just be BSing them, So do you believe what he said?
I kind of feel like if this is going to be the big twist, is that he's supposed to be this good character, and then the twist at the end is going to be that he's not. Wouldn't that be way too simple for them? They're not going to leave it that simply for us.
Yeah.
Because it's too much. It's like to me, it's a red herring. It's too obvious that's the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm feeling like the same thing right now, because that seems to have been the hot topic about Mysterio since our first piece of promo material with him, is that, they're teeing him up like he's a good guy and he's going to be friends with Peter Parker. Obviously, they're going to shift it. There has to be more to it than that.
Right.
Well, the more could be that something comes down the line as he's thinking he's doing the right thing. Because remember, he says sometimes people die. Maybe his philosophy of being a hero doesn't match up with Peter. So he's not necessarily your classic villain. He just has a different approach to being a hero, which would really expand the definition within the MCU of what a hero or villain is. So Mysterio could definitely play that. If you know Mysterio in the Brian Michael Bendis Spider-Man series, he jumps dimension, pulling off the height. So he can jump dimensions in the comic book. There's basis for it. I don't know if he's telling the truth here, but I would be shocked that Nick Fury would believe him just at his word. So I think the multiverse does exist. Is he telling the truth about being for the multiverse? That's a separate conversation.
Well, we also went into the whole time travel thing, and that there can be could there be another Mysterio? Could there be one that is from a certain time that thinks he's good and is good, and then there's another?
Right.
You know?
Certainly possible.
Well, the way that they're teeing it up does get me very excited about dealing with the repercussions of the events of Endgame, because I know, the Spider-Man franchise is a little more of a fun-loving franchise, and I love Homecoming for the vibe it had, but I don't want to necessarily wipe the slate clean of the ramifications of basically half the population having been dusted away for 5 years.
Yeah.
And this seems like a good way to get at it where the story actually calls for it. The other potential time travel multiverse thing I wanted to bring up, because I bet you're going to know a lot about it, Rocha, is the other evil entities we see in this, the elementals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, could that hint at the existence of the multiverse and him not necessarily lying?
Possibly, because they're essentially using Hydro Man, Sandman, Molten Man. They're using the classic characters from from Spider-Man lore that were introduced in the 70s, but are they going to be part of are they tricks that Mysterio is staging to make himself look like a hero? That's going to be an interesting part of it. The Elementals seem like a boring villain to have in a film like this, so I would be surprised they go this route, because a lot of people didn't like Spider-Man 3, where Hydro Man and where Sandman were a part of it, so I'd be shocked that they would go back to that strictly. So I don't think they're part of it. I think they're all part of Mysterio's game, in my opinion.
Was there a line in the trailer? Was it Mysterio? Was it a voiceover where he says people have to die?
That's
Something
what I was bringing up earlier. Yeah.
Right.
So what kind of hero is he?
Right.
I wonder.
I am curious. I want to know more now, but I'm also so satisfied by this trailer we got today that I'm like, you know what? I'm all right for a little while. I can't wait to see what the next one has. And you guys can bet that when we get another Far From Home trailer, we're going to cover it right here on New Movie Talk. Rocha, Nikki, thank you so much
Yay.
for
Thank
kicking
you.
off
That's
this
awesome.
run of the show with me. A huge thanks to Adam in the booth and the whole production team here, and Dorian for helping us out today. It really means a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. As always, do not forget to like and share. And even though we have a shorter running time, we still exist in podcast form as well. So go check us out. Comment, share, tell everybody you know about Movie Talk, and we'll see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. PT Live for a brand new episode.